Hello everyone, it's Foulplay here, and today we are going to be doing a little bit of a deck review, deck breakdown, and how to beat a new deck that's popped up in the metagame recently. So this is a modern Pure Steel Paladin deck, utilizing the power of Colossus Hammer. Colossus Hammer is a 1 mana equipment, which equips for 8 and gives the equipped creature 10/10 and it loses flying. It's utilizing Sigarda's Aid. So when auras or equipment spells enter the battlefield, you may attach them to target creature you control. And you can also cast them at flash speed. It is also utilizing Pure Steel Paladin to equip them onto the creatures. So if you have 3 or more artifacts, equip cost 0. So yeah, basic plan of the deck is to play a 0 mana creature, or maybe 2. They can use some Mishra's Bogles for deck thinning. They then go ahead and put Paradise Mantle on the 0 mana creature, allowing it to tap for mana. They'll use that to get Stoneforge Mystic into play, or Pure Steel Paladin. Stoneforge Mystic will enter. It'll search up a Colossus Hammer, a Shadow Spear. So Shadow Spear is 1/1 trample, lifelink, and can make permanents your opponents control lose hexproof until end of turn. Cranial Paladin, you'll be familiar with this one from the old Affinity days. So +1 for each artifact you control, and if you do double black, you can equip it instant speed. Now, attacking for 10 or 11 might not seem that crazy. The fact that you can cast your equipment's instant speed with Sigarda's Aid means that you can attack in the air for 10, then equip the Colossus Hammer. Sorry, attack in the air for 0, then equip the Colossus Hammer and deal 10 to your opponents. And then they need to answer or they're dead. The point where this becomes really, really disgusting is they run 4 Inkmoth Nexus. So Inkmoth Nexus has Infect. You can attack, put it into play, deal 11 Infect damage, and bada bing, bada boom. Nice, easy win right there. Alright, so you may think this seems a little bit convoluted, a little bit too cute, but there's much more to it. So if you answer their creatures, if you answer their equipments, they then have Lurrus of the Dream Den as a companion, and they can use his companion to put all of that back onto the battlefield. All they need is 1 attack with an Inkmoth Nexus, and they kill you. So it's pretty strong, pretty sweet. I actually really like the list. I think it's been very, very well constructed. Got Welding Jar in there to give target artifact, regenerate target artifact. Other than that, you also have Path to Exile. So if they are removing your things, Pure Steel Paladin. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So equipments, they've got Colossus Hammer, they've got Cranial Plating, they've got Shadow Spear, they've got Paradise Mantle. What have we got there? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equipment. So they get to draw a lot, and don't forget that works if they're casting it from the graveyard as well. Really, really strong deck here. So sideboard wise, they are packing extra Path to Exiles, Disenchants, Damping Spheres, Tormod Crypt, Pithing Needle, and some more Welding Jar. So in other lists, packing... Sorry, no, this is a bit easier. Packing Grand Abolisher. So Grand Abolisher, during your turns, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Very good hate card there. And then Core Firewalker, of course, for burn, protection from red. Whenever a player casts a red spell, you may gain 1 life. So they've got like a reasonably, and relic progenitors as well. So they've got a reasonably good sideboard plan as far as everything is concerned. They've got access to good card depth, even though white's probably one of the weaker colors. Like, it's a very powerful deck, very strong deck, and it's going to be very unforgiving. So you might think, like, I'll just trade 1 for 1 with their equipments, and they, draw another one, pop it in. With the Mishra's Bubbles as well, they're essentially playing a 56 card deck. Very low curve with the 0 mana Mem Knights, Paradise Mantles, Welding Jars, all of which enable your Metalcraft over here. and yeah, really, really strong. So, if you're coming up against this deck, what do you do to beat it? So we mentioned before that 1-for-1 artifact removal might not be good enough because they can just get it back with Lurrus, right? So that's alright if you have a removal spell for Lurrus, if you're something removal heavy like Jund. Not everyone's going to be that. So I'm talking about this mostly from the perspective of Bogles deck because that's most of the content that I make, and most of my viewers are Bogles players as well. Alright, so single-handedly, probably the strongest effect that we could be doing is Consulate Crackdown. So when it enters the battlefield, exile all artifacts your opponents control until Consulate Crackdown leaves the battlefield. That's pretty strong. It'll answer the most artifacts possible. It exiles them as well instead of putting them into the graveyard. The problem being is if you're on Bogles, they have disenchants. They're going to bring in their disenchants against Bogles. It's just going to happen. So are there other exile effects that can exile an artifact? So we've got Return to Dust. So it's not a great option. So 4 mana. Exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may exile up to 1 other artifact or enchantment instead. So you can do up to 2, right? So that's not too bad. It's reasonable value, but it's just very expensive. Like 4 mana, they're quick. They're probably killing you on turn 3, maybe on turn 4 through interaction. Return to Nature is an interesting one because it can destroy an artifact and put it into the graveyard, and then it also has an exile mode from the graveyard. I think it's a little bit too cute, but worth mentioning at the very least. So Revoke Existence, sorcery speed, but it exiles an artifact or an enchantment permanently. Shattering Blow, instant speed, so red and white, only exiles artifacts, not instants, but it's probably the stronger effect being instant speed. It's probably the one that you want. Alright, another option potentially is to go with Khan the Great Creator, and that will disable the equip ability, and then you can attack your opponent's Sagada's aids so that they don't auto-equip on ETB, because that's an ETB, that's not a activated ability. So that's an idea. Khan's pretty versatile. 4 mana's not great for Bogles to get to, but other decks maybe. So Ajani, Strength of the Pride. Why did I pull this one up here? I think I just opened this one to read it on a Gatherer search, but it's no good. So then we've got our own plan. So we could run our own copy of Lurrus, and we could run our own copies of Seal of Primordium, and this way we can attack our opponent's equipments as much as they can play them from the grave. We can replay our Seal of Primordium during our turn, attack it again next turn. It's not great, considering like each time they cast it, they're going to be drawing a card off Pure Steel Paladin, but it's probably the best plan so far. The only other options that I've thought of are exile effects. So if you're running things like Rest in Peace in conjunction with your Seal of Primordium of your Force of Vigor, you're probably going to do a little bit better. Maybe you're running Soul Guide Lantern as well. But that's potentially getting in the realms of like overboarding. I think Surgical Extraction is probably just going to be the hands down the strongest effect that you can look for. So you just need like 1 Force of Negation, 1 Seal of Primordium, put the hammer in the graveyard, you Surgical, you strip the others from the deck. If they're playing 3, if they're playing 4, whatever it is, they're out of there. They then have to try and kill you using either a Cranial Plating or a Shadow Spear. A Cranial Plating is going to be your next most dangerous target out of those 2 cards. Yep, and another option outside of Surgical Extraction is Fairy Macabre. I don't like it as much, but I think it was worth the honorable mention. So yeah, a little bit more on this deck is... It popped up for me about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago. I versed it. I thought it was a bit of a troll deck. I lost to it. I was playing Bogles, and I hadn't seen much of it since. And then a couple of nights ago, I was playing online. I was playing some Spirits. I was streaming. It's popped up again. Game 1 and Game 2, and I lost against it both times with Spirits. So I thought, okay, maybe there's something more to this deck. Maybe it's not as troll as it would appear. And yeah, I think it's actually really strong. I then also versed it a third time that night. I played 10 matches and I versed it 3 times. The other time I versed it, I was playing Bogles. I won the first game, I lost the second game, and then on the third game, I mulled to 5. Kept a pretty sketchy hand, and all of their interaction lined up perfectly with our hand, and we lost. We played it like as tight as we could, but we didn't quite get there. But yeah, that is, I guess I'm going to be calling it like a mono white hammer deck, or a Paladin hammer deck. Again, Paladin hammer is probably the name to go with. Yeah, that's Paladin hammer in a nutshell, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to, let me know down below if you think the deck's good. If you got any good sideboard tips, let me know about that as well. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to keep up to date with Bogle content. Occasionally I'll chuck in some other tribal decks in there as well in leagues, and keep up to date with what we're doing. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a good rest of your day. See you next time.